about where we've been. I'm very proud of what we've done, and I would like to introduce Kip Bradley as your new Marshals chairman. Kip's been with us for the last 3 years. This will be his fourth. I think it'll be a smooth transition. I certainly wouldn't have wanted to turn it over to anybody else that wasn't a part of the group. So I hope that you reach out to your marshals that aren't being able to volunteer in this year's event, and make sure they understand that we would have had them out here if we could have. This is the only year that I've been here that we've got way more people than we needed. So hopefully that's a thing to come in the future, is we have more volunteers than we need. So I'm not sure if Jim Leto's on the call yet or not. Jim, Dennis Roberson, Platt Allen. I don't know if you guys are on yet. Rick Hopwood.
This is Jim. I'm here.
Okay, so guys, Jim and some of the other tournament staff are here to kind of help answer questions that don't get answered on the PowerPoint. John's going to run a shortened version of our PowerPoint. I know all of you guys have seen this at least 7 times, and some of you considerably more, but we're going to run through the PowerPoint real quick. It's certainly a shortened version of it. And if you have questions that we can't answer, then Jim's here to help clarify some of these special rules. So without delaying you any further, Kip.
You bet. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brad, for your many wonderful years of service. My goodness, I'm going to try my best to be half as good as you. That's for sure. But yes, gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this truly, truly historic event that we get to participate in. And just a little bit of ground rules here. I'm sure many, many of you have lots and lots of questions. And what we're going to try to do is keep as many of you on mute as we can throughout the initial presentation. And then, but keep your questions, because maybe those questions will be answered by the time this is over. And if not, make sure that you have them, and we will certainly try our best to get as many of them answered as possible. Please understand that even though the tournament is starting next week, everything is still very much a little bit fluid. A lot of things have been worked out that have been changed half a dozen times that are now more and more solid, but we've all got to be amazingly flexible on this. I was making a comment recently that I feel like this group of marshals is some of the most experienced that we possibly could have. And with the minimum experience being 7 years of experience, and the person corrected me and said, well, actually, all of your marshals have 0 years of experience, because this is an event that we've never done before, and we may or hope to never do again. So as a consequence, we are looking forward to you bringing to the event your years of experience. But please understand, we all have to be flexible. We all have to be understanding. Sometimes that may even mean patient, as we try to figure out things that happen that just are unlike anything we've ever had before. We do have a PowerPoint presentation that we will be sending you that has a lot of information, but I know my experience with the last 3 years, oftentimes guys like you have come to the training meeting and went, I'm ready to go to sleep because I've heard all this, I know all this, and so forth. So I'm not going to try to go over what it's like to be a marshal, but I am going to try and go over for you the high points that may be different this year that will help you try to get ready for next week and have those answers. First of all, this is all as a result, obviously, of a pandemic that none of us expected. Because of that, there will be very strict guidelines that will be followed in terms of social distancing, cleanliness, disinfectant, and so on and so forth. I will tell you that there is not a requirement on the course for masks. However, there is a requirement for masks, for instance, on the shuttle bus and anywhere that is inside where there is potential for gathering. There is not a code for what mask you must or must not wear. We've all probably got that, and masks will be available if you should forget them. Testing will be done at the parking garage. All volunteers will be parked at the parking structure, which is sort of adjacent to the physical plant facilities at TCU, right next to the fraternities and sorority. It's a 6-story parking garage. There should be plenty of signage directing you to where you need to go. It will be at that place that testing will take place before you get on the bus. It will be thermal testing of temperature and some questions that take place. And then once we're on the course, there will not be requirement for gloves. There will not be a requirement for masks. However, all of those things we are going to respect and honor. If there's a level of comfort that you feel is necessary for you personally, that's fine. We are okay with that. First of all, there will, as you probably have heard, there will not be spectators on the course. The people that will be on the course will be marshals, ShotLink, various other volunteers related to the tournament, and players and caddies, even spouses and family members and personal guests of players are not going to be on the course. So it will be a very, very different and very limited field. Each person will have one shift during the tournament, and there will be 2 shifts. We have come out with a schedule with that, but you will need to check in after you come to the property at the volunteer center, which will be now inside in the clubhouse in the ballroom. Once you're on the course, there will be 1 marshal on a par 4, 2 on par 5s, and none on the par 3s. You will be sharing the responsibility of ball watching and locating with the ShotLink, who will be on the other side of the fairway. And it will be a limited responsibility. By that I mean primarily spotting balls and helping with ropes. But let me preface that with we need to be very, very respectful of the players, because the idea is that you at a minimum need to keep the 6-foot social distancing and not be proactive with touching the ropes or the stakes. Ask the players if they would like you to do that, and if they agree, then you may. But if not, then it's up to them to do that. I've just heard that they're even encouraging the players to pick their own clubs rather than have the caddies pull them. So that's kind of the level that may be taking place out there with respect to touching the ropes or the stakes. With respect to attire, this is the first year that we are being allowed to have shorts, for the marshals to have shorts. They are khaki shorts. They are not cargo shorts. They are probably the sort of classier golf, above the knee kind of short. If you have a pair of shorts and you look at them and go, I wonder if this would fit the criteria, the answer is probably no. Because if you have confidence that those are good, solid dress golf shorts, those are the ones that we want, and those are the ones that are allowable. And we will, unfortunately, ask you to either change or not be able to allow you on the course if they are shorts that are not acceptable. Again, of course, khaki long pants are acceptable as well. We have said that we are going to need you to wear your shirts from last year, the navy blue Charles Schwab Challenge shirts. Please do not wear any of the other tournament shirts that you may or may not have in that. When you come to the parking garage, one of the suggestions that has been made is that you not wear a ball cap, because apparently it has been known at times to skew the temperatures that are read. And so you will receive your hat for your shift when you come to the volunteer location at the clubhouse, but you may want to come without a ball cap before that. PGA will be very, very conscious about security and what is and is not on the course. You have had in the past a listing of acceptable things such as umbrellas without a sleeve, a chair. A chair is allowed without a sleeve. There's sort of acceptable and prohibited chairs, and we all pretty much know what those are. With respect to lunch, box lunches will be provided on course. Where that happens and how that happens is sort of being worked out. You will definitely be told about that once you check in. With respect to communication on the course, there will be a very, very limited number of radios on the course. However, we will have a Marshals hotline, and that number, which I have, will be given to you in an email, and also will be available at the Volunteers Center when you check in. If you have any problems, or if there's anything that happens on course that you need assistance with, and there isn't someone around that has a radio, which there probably will not be, you can call that Marshals hotline and be able to get assistance promptly. Let's see. There will be restrooms on the course. They will, again, however, will be limited and will be much more spread out than maybe has been in the past. There will be there'll be ropes, as there has been throughout, and as I mentioned, we will need to be sensitive and respectful of the players' decisions with respect to whether they want us to deal with them or not. There will be an evac procedure, but it will be very different this year, and we will help explain that to you at the Volunteer Center or in the email that we send out to you. Let's see. The positioning of the Marshals will be in the center of the fairway, off to the side. The ropes are much farther out than they have been in the past, so it will not be as close to the fairway. We do not know if directional paddles will be provided or being used, but Marshals will not be utilizing them. If they are, it may be by the caddies or by someone else other than us. There will be on-course refreshments. You do not need to bring those, and they will be provided. Let's see. With respect to, will you be able to watch the play either before or after your shift? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Because of the security and concerns of the PGA, we are asking you to come to provide your services for the shift, and then you will be asked to depart the property promptly. That is something that is being dictated to us by the PGA and certainly isn't our desire, but because of the circumstances, we just need to abide by that. Can you change your shift or day whole with another? I would say our plan is to have it set with the schedule that we do. If you have someone that you can switch with directly and it's easy, bring that to our attention. We will certainly try to accommodate you, but we want to stick to the schedule as much as we possibly can. No, there's a question about whether there will be a Pro-Am, and there is not. And no, there will not be marshals working Monday through Wednesday. This is only Thursday through Sunday. There are going to be a total of 128 marshals this year. As you can imagine, this is completely unprecedented. We are so thankful to each and every one of you, first for the amount of experience that you have that provided you the opportunity to be part of this elite group, but also for your willingness to assist us this year. It will be like never before and maybe never again. And so we want this to be fun. We want it to be a safe, and we want it to be a respectful experience for all of you. And it's certainly our desire to have you walk away very, very proud that you can say, 2020, I was there. And we're looking forward to having you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Lito and to see if he may have some other things that maybe I didn't cover that he would like to cover. And from there, maybe have your questions afterwards. Jim?
Thanks, Kip. Well, first of all, I'd like to also thank all of y'all for your willingness to help out. Again, this is not what any of us would like to have happen, but I think we're all going to come through this and be very proud to have been a part of this when it's all said and done. I want to especially thank Brad for his leadership over the years. And Brad, I didn't really know Brad before this all started, but have developed a special relationship with Brad, and I feel like Brad's just one of those kind of guys that do anything for you. And I've always tried to be there for Brad, and he's been there for me as we've gone through this process together. Looking forward to getting to know Kip better in the next few years. I'm also on a retirement strategy too. Chris Kinney is going to be taking over for me. This was kind of a first of a 3-year transition year, but as I told Chris, I think he got 2 in 1, so I may only stay around one more time. So I'm kind of on the downhill side too, but I know I've worked with many of y'all for many years and want to just thank you again for what you're doing here. I spent a little bit of time kind of reflecting on, on my experience here. I went to the 1975 Tour Championship. I was graduated from high school that year, and I know I was at the tournament. I know I was there and on the tournament committee in 1997 when Tiger Woods was there, and I know I was there in 2003 when Annika came, and I was there in 2018 for the Fort Worth Invitational, which was special into itself, and obviously 2020. And I look back over the last years, I'm sure each of y'all have special memories of all these tournaments you've worked in and the many years of experience you have, but those kind of come to light for me. And I think 2020 will be one of those same type of deals. It's just going to be a different type of memory, but I think all of us will be proud to be a part of it. I did want to just kind of touch on a few housekeeping things. There is a Return to Golf volunteer resource guide that we received yesterday that Platt and Rick and Jay have, and I've asked the tournament office to forward that out to Brad and Kip and ultimately get this into your hands. It's about an 8-page document that just covers a lot of things that your questions you have. So, but I would say this, from the very first moment we started talking to the tour, the very first thing they emphasized that the most important thing in this tournament was to keep the players safe. And the way that we were going to measure success is when the tournament was over, did the players say, you know, boy, it was hot out there. You know, boy, it wasn't the best food I ever had at Colonial, and my car parking experience wasn't the greatest. But Colonial did everything to make a safe environment for us to come back to golf, and did everything they could to make us feel welcome and safe. And so I want y'all to kind of remember those words as you're out there working and you're questioning, you know, whether you should or shouldn't do something. I think if you can answer, well, is this something that will keep the players safe, then that's probably something you want to do. So you want to err on the side of caution relative to what you do. Obviously, maintaining social distancing is going to be very important. And, you know, we got the best players in the world, and, you know, we've got a great golf course in great condition, and hopefully they can keep it in the fairway. In which case you'll just have a front row seat to watch a great event. So just remember, that's the most important thing. Kip touched on the kind of the prohibited items. So there's kind of two things I would say to you on that. Number one, we're not going to have any check stands at the club. So if you come in on the bus or go to TCU, you know, they'll be asking you to return, you know, to your vehicle with any what they believe are prohibited items once you've gone through the magnetometers. So you'll be thermal screened there. You'll go through the magnetometer there. You'll be given a wristband to indicate you've been thermal screened. If you forgot a mask, there'll be a mask there available for you. You'll practice social distancing on the bus as you come down to Colonial. When you get to Colonial, you'll be let out on the south end of the club, and you'll go through what we're calling the breezeway, and it's the entry to the ballroom that is on the very south end of the club. There's a kind of a switchback kind of walkway there that's there now. You may recognize it when you get there, but you'll be dropped off right there. You'll be asked to maintain social distancing when you go in. So when you get off the buses, just try to stay about 6 feet apart. You could be traveling with media or other tour officials that may be going up there or that'll be riding these same buses. Buses are going to start running at 4:30 in the morning, so there's going to be no reason that we can't get everybody there on time. Then they'll obviously run until we get everybody back up there. Hoping for a really safe experience on that. For those of you that may feel uncomfortable about riding on a bus or being close in those close quarters, you're more than welcome to be dropped off at the Y and kind of walk in. As long as you're wearing your tournament uniform and your proper credentials, they'll let you walk up to the club from there if you feel more safe doing that. And you can be thermal screened at the Hogan deck and get your wristband and go back down to the volunteer center. I would tell you that that's really not going to open until 7 o'clock each morning, so it would not be a good option if you had to be there early, because it will not be open until 7. But if you've got a later shift and you feel more comfortable to being dropped off, just realize that's an opportunity for you too. Just again, maintain social distancing as you're coming up to the club, and just stay on the street until you get all the way up to the club. And the street will be closed as it normally is, and players and caddies and tour officials will be coming in that way as normal. So try to just kind of think of everything we could to kind of help make you safe in that regard, or any questions you have or concerns. I'm more than happy to try to address them, or Brad and Kip can. I'm kind of here just a resource. If I hear an answer that I think may need to be tweaked a little bit, I'll step in. And, you know, I've been dealing with this for 6 weeks, and there hasn't been one day that something didn't change from what I learned the day before, and I expect that will continue to happen well in the next week. So what we tell you today is kind of subject to change. So I just kind of, you know, just always inquire and verify, I would say, because, you know, there's a lot of communication is at a premium, and really it's all oral communication, one-to-one. And as y'all well know, that's the worst kind of way to manage anything, is by having to have oral communication, because we're a lot better off when we can use ropes and barricades and strategies to get people to go do stuff instead of having to actually say something. So just fortunately, you're not going to have to worry about gallery or any of that. You'll just worry about finding the balls and staying out of the way. So again, I appreciate your help and look forward to seeing all of y'all out there, and stay hydrated and have a good time.
Okay, John,
Yes, sir.
go ahead, and I guess you can open it up to questions if somebody has some questions.
Guys, you'll need to unmute your meeting settings if you want to ask any questions at this time.
Hey, John, it's Woody. You might want to remind all the assistant chairs that we cannot wear shorts.
I think you just reminded them.
It's trending in the wrong direction again. I open a new COVID-19 cases. And this number, we should be most worried about.
Any other questions?
Well, it's been emphasized that we need to make sure that we're at the parking garage in plenty of time in order to get through the screening process and get to our assigned holes on time. So if we get there too early, will there be a sitting area at the Colonial for us to wait until it's time for us to go out to the hole? Or do we need to have that really timed down to get out there on time? That makes sense.
I think that's a great question. And I don't know that we've got an answer for you right this second, but certainly there are going to be areas that could lend themselves to sort of a staging area, but there unfortunately will not be something like we had in previous years in the volunteer center, where it's a place for tables and chairs and congregating and breakfast and so on and so forth. So it will be different and it'll be limited.
Let me address that real quick, Kip. I think I can add some color to that, if you don't mind. Number one is the thermal screening is going to be done with a camera. So they're going to be able to shoot 2 to 3 people at one time. And, we only have about 150 volunteers per shift per day. It's not 1,500. They're really coming in there at the times you're coming in. It's going to be relatively low volume. Don't expect you to really have any trouble getting through the thermal screening, the magnetometer, and getting down to the club in a reasonable period of time. So I don't think you have to kind of worry about getting there, just way too early. When you come to the ballroom area, it's a relatively large area. I think you can maintain social distancing in there. There's also a kind of a patio outside it where you can stand. It overlooks 16 green that we can use if we need to. But I really don't think you are going to have a lot of trouble getting down there. There's not going to be a lot of traffic because there's not going to be anybody coming to the tournament. So just lots of the things that might have been impediments before, we don't expect to be there. But I think there's plenty of place between inside the ballroom and the clubhouse to maintain proper social distancing. So if we get a little crowded, we can do something about that. This is probably something I ought to mention too, and I don't think it's been said yet, but in the event we're on an evacuation, all volunteers will go to the indoor tennis courts, where the volunteers have historically been. We're only using 1 court in there for media, so there will be 2 courts in there. We think we can maintain adequate social distancing for the 100 to 150 volunteers that might be on site at any given time during a rain delay. So, but we will be getting you off the course to the extent you're not in the proximity, but that'll probably come up or maybe in the PowerPoint. But and God, I hope we don't have to go on an evacuation. But if we do, that'll be what happens. So hopefully that answered that question. I don't. If there's any other follow-up I need to give, we'll just ask away.
Yeah, Jim, I will add to your comment that we sent a schedule out for every shift, for every day, for every hole. And we're asking everybody to observe about a 45-minute to 1 hour, time before that they need to get down to the parking lot.
Okay.
How do you know which hole you're on?
Excuse me?
How do you know which hole you're on?
I sent a schedule out to every marshal, to every hole for every day, and I can resend that.
Just let us know if you have not received that schedule, but that schedule with all of the particulars has been sent out previously. But we were more than happy to resend it if necessary.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think George Velick got it.
Okay, just
If I
send an
did, it
email.
says hole number 5, I think.
Sure, just send an email to John Fee
Okay.
and ask, and he'll make sure he replies to that. I did notice that there's a couple of small questions in the chat, and one of them is, are there going to be flags to mark the location of the balls in the rough? And the answer is yes. Just like in the past, we've had the small wire flags that we've gotten. Those will be available at the Volunteer Center, as well as a very healthy supply of long white tees. So if you need to mark with the location of the stake or something else, you will have things that will help you with that. I mean, one of the questions that may come up that we have not addressed is the issue of a play date after the tournament. And I just want you to know that that has not been confirmed with a date, but it is something that we are working on and trying to figure out with the volunteers. So you will get more information on that in the, either during the tournament or shortly thereafter.
Hey, Kip, I have a question. Will we exit the property the same way we entered it?
Yes, sir.
Kip,
You gonna have any player sheets?
One more time.
You gonna have any players sheets to know which group we can, once they pass ours, we can leave the last group.
Oh, yes. I'm sure that there'll be a players list and pairing sheets and so on and so forth that you'll be able to take a look at, for sure.
Kip, Roland DeGraw. You mentioned earlier in the presentation that the thermal testing and things of that nature will be conducted at the parking garage prior to being able to board on the bus. And from John Fee's emails, you know, they're saying get there early enough in time to go through that process. Do you have an idea as to the process, or from beginning to end, to, let's say, getting imaged, getting cleared, getting on the bus and driving, and then, you know, if the buses are starting to run at 4:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, I think y'all mentioned that the ballroom's not going to be open till 7. Some of us have whole assignments at, you know, 7:30, 7:45, 7:50-ish. Granted, it's not going to take that long to walk to the hole, but, you know, if you get there to try to beat traffic coming in from, let's say, Keller or, you know, surrounding cities, measuring that time and then that lag time or that wait time between being dropped off by the bus at the clubhouse, waiting for the clubhouse to open, and then going through that process. Can you explain it a little bit better? Or is there, I mean, I know, like you said at the beginning, we got to be flexible and understanding, you know, with regards to that and patience. So I'm just trying to get a perspective on that process.
Yeah, and you know what? It sounds to me like, Roland, you've outlined just about all of the steps and all the things in the process, and have thought through this a whole lot more than maybe I have. So I'm going to send all the inquiries to you. You're gonna, it sounds like you're the expert, but the reality is just as Jim mentioned, we're not talking about 1,500 volunteers. We're talking about 120 on the course at one time. And you're right, we aren't that far from TCU parking lot to Colonial, and from the clubhouse out to the course. There isn't going to be anybody getting in our way, and it's going to be relatively streamlined, and we're certainly going to put into place as much procedures to make it go as quickly as we possibly can. But I'm guessing it's going to be a lot like trying to plan for that shopping trip or that wedding that you have to go to, and you're planning on traffic, you're planning on things that could get in the way, and I, plan on half hour, 45 minutes to an hour, probably.
Hey,
Jim, Vito, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, Kim,
Thank
let
you.
me add a little bit more color. First, I want to clarify one thing that was said that I think either I said it wrong or it wasn't clear. The volunteer center will be open when you get there. What I was mentioning was not going to open till 7 was the Hogan deck entrance there where the Hogan statue is. If you were dropped off and needed to walk in, that would not be open till 7. But if you ride the bus, it will be open when you get there. No doubt about it. You don't have to worry about that. It's only if you walk in that you would have to could have a little bit of a problem. So I apologize for not making that clear. Secondly, I would say y'all are not coming till Thursday. We will start running the buses on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And there will be a limited amount of activity because there will be some volunteers coming, but not a lot. And we will get a sense of how that's going. And if there's problems, we will have ironed out kind of the mechanics of a lot of the bugs by the time we get to Thursday. If we detect that maybe there's some issues here that were unintended consequences that we're not expecting right now, we will alert Brad and Kip, and I think they can email out to you guys a quick message about what you might be looking at if it's materially worse than what we're kind of outlining right now. So we got a little bit of time to get it right before y'all all start getting there. So, I can't speak to the traffic to get to TCU, but, I don't think this is going to take, the only thing that's going to slow this down is the fact that we have to social distance on the buses. So instead of being able to put 2 in a seat, we're only going to be able to put 1 in a seat. We've got some extra coaches to kind of handle that and to monitor that, but that would be the only thing that I think could materially impact this. I don't think the thermal screening is going to materially impact it because of the camera shot thing, and I just think it would be a matter of we can't physically get you down there fast enough because we're only bringing half the people at a time. But again, I think we will know more about that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and if we think you need to take extra precautions, I think we can let you do that. That's about the best we can do right now. But you're exactly right on what you articulated is going to happen, but I don't see it being a long process.
Okay, Kip, Jim, Roland DeGraw again. I had a question that John Fee answered, but I'm trying to think of it logically in the sense that John mentioned that there's going to be a reserve marshals list just in case if, let's say, a individual has a family emergency or an emergency come up or has some other issue arise to where they can't fulfill their shift. My thought is if we have marshals that, for example, have completed their shift, let's say the first day of the tournament on a Thursday, are you going to be maybe asking them if the incident arose to where they were needed for a second shift during the tournament, since we've received the initial training and understand the protocols, whether we would be willing to accept that second shift, or are you just going with the list that you have and the reserves and that's it?
Yeah, great question, Roland. And the answer is that if there is a substitution or something that needs to take place, it probably is going to be filled with the assistant chairs.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, let me say one other thing that I think is relevant to that too. And that is, if you come and you do not pass the thermal screen on the first shot, they're going to ask you to, go back to your car, maybe, turn the air conditioner on or sit down and cool off. They're not going to just turn you away, just because you failed the first time. You'll get a couple of cracks at it, but once they tell you you're not making the cut, well, then you're going to have to return home and will not be able to work. And you'll just need to notify whoever y'all notify when something like that happens, and somebody will have to take your place. But I just want to emphasize you'll be given a couple of opportunities to pass. So, and if we're having particular issues up there, I think it'll be worked out before we get to Thursday. So, and I can't remember if it was said on this call or not, but we have heard twice from people who are experienced at doing this. And I think he mentioned about the hats, but he didn't mention it. But I want to just remind you, don't wear a hat, because that seems to be the number one impediment. And he already mentioned you'll get a new hat. So I know he said it once, but I think it's important that things like that get said a couple more times, because sure enough, you'll forget and come up there wearing a hat, and then you won't get past it. And I can think of probably 2 or 3 choice words you'll come right out of your mouth immediately when you flaunt, because you'll know you screwed up. But anyway,
What is
we'll
the
do our
temp?
best. My understanding is if you do take it off and kind of wait 3 or 4 minutes, you can pass as long as you don't really have a temperature. But
What
just
is the
be aware of
temperature?
that.
What is the temperature threshold?
100.4.
Will there be thermal screening for people that don't take the bus if they drive up to the Y and walk up to the colony, to the clubhouse? Will there be thermal screening for those individuals?
Yes.
From 7 o'clock to 2 o'clock every day at the Hogan statue, the Hogan entrance.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Have you determined the headway on the buses leaving the parking garage? Or is it just when they're full?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can answer that. They work on I think a 15-minute turn. So if the bus isn't full in a designated point in time, they leave, whether it's got one person on it or it's completely full. So they work on like 15, I think it's 15-minute turns. And TMS, who's run our buses for years, manages all that for us and has done a very efficient job of getting those buses out of there. You might have to wait a few minutes, but they're running on a very specific time cycle.
Would would the committee consider khaki knickers?
No.
No. Okay.
John, this is Rodney Lee. I was looking through my emails, attempting to find. I see where I'm supposed to come at 1, or you got me signed up for 1 o'clock. Is it my understanding that we're working one shift, and are those shifts 4 hours, or is it all day? Explain it to me again.
4 hours.
It's 4 hours.
Well, it's till your shift is over, till the last group comes through.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So usually the shifts are 5-hour shifts, and
Okay.
you guys also need to understand this year that you've got a large field. You've got 148 players if the field is full with the 4 past champions. So there's a possibility that your shift may be a little longer.
But it's only for that one day, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We worked as hard as we could to get as many of you as we could, and this is the most equitable way that we could figure it out.
It's just brand new because we normally work multiple days, so it's kind of foreign to work only one day.
Well, I'd be quite honest with you. You can thank Mr. Lito for getting as many people as we did, because initially they wanted us to have 32 people that worked all week long.
Right.
And so what we surmised is we'd like to have as many of you involved as we can. And so we built the schedule backwards, starting with the assistant chairs and the captains and so on and so forth. And this way we got as many of you with the most years of experience that we could. There was a lot of people who'd like to have your place, and we certainly appreciate you volunteering.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
You
Hey,
bet.
Brad, thanks for the compliment, but I would deny I had any knowledge of how many marshals are here.
This is George Bellick. Are you going to have a Marshall's golf outing at Colonial or no?
Yeah, George, thank you. I tried to address that we are having conversations about that. We do not have a date for it, but certainly it is something that we are working on to try to figure out how we can make work with the group that we have. So I would just encourage you to stay tuned on that, and we will get some information about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Ricky Jones. Are y'all gonna have sun hats?
I think what's been said is that if you have a sun hat, you can wear it. It would be okay from last year. If it's got the Charles Schwab, yes, sir. They're not furnishing sun hats this year because there's such a lead time on them. So everyone has ball caps. But if you have one from last year, you're certainly welcome to wear it.
I'll have to check my golf bag and see if it's still in the bucket.
So that does address the question. Yes, you will get new ball caps this year.
Good.
You are.
So hide your sun hat and just take the ball cap and move on.
I would like to confirm, can we bring our own water bottles?
I would think that would be okay. We're actually, Kip and I's responsibility, and I think we're going to break this up amongst others, is we're going to do kind of like what we've done during the volunteer outings, is we're going to have ice chests on our carts just to keep you guys hydrated. You might take our bottles and refill your bottle. I bet you that would be okay.
Oh, you gave us a bottle in our packet.
Well,
Can we bring that?
it. Yes, sir. Bring it with you. I think it clips to your belt.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And we'll have refreshment out there on the course.
Should it be empty when we bring it in, or can we have it full? Okay.
I really don't know. I don't know any reason why it's. I mean, you've been able to bring beverage in, a water bottle in the past, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to bring a 6-pack or something in, but we will have beverage out there for you.
Okay.
No, Brad, I think at the front you had to drop. If you had a water bottle, you had to leave it. You couldn't come in with any beverage in the past.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then that would still be the case because security's the same.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm greatly appreciate you joining us. I'm also a great believer that the best question sometimes is the one that you think of as soon as you get back in your car. So if something comes up, feel free to contact John Fee or any one of us on the tournament committee, the Marshals committee, and we will promptly get back to you with the answers. Again, I cannot thank each and every one of you enough. 1, for your past experience, and 2, for your willingness to be a part of this truly historic event. It will be one you will long remember, hopefully for the positive. And we're excited for what's going to happen. Thank you.
Hi, John. Kip.
Yes.
One other question for you. I know they've said that their tournament's trying to figure out how the tournament office is trying to figure out how they're going to do refunds. But if we want them to keep our money and use it for the normal charitable things that Colonial uses the money for, what do we need to do? Who do we need to tell?
Well, when they deal with refunds and contact you about that, I'm guessing that there will be an option for that. But the whole refund issue is just a big thing for them to work around. And they're in that process right now of just even trying to figure that out, get their arms around it.
Okay.
All right.
I can guarantee you'll have the opportunity to donate that without question. That's the one thing that I'm pretty sure will not change.
Gentlemen, thank you. We'll look forward to next week.
See you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate your help.
Shout out to Hall 6.